The meeting today is speech and life issues. So it's an open mic. So if anyone has any questions or comments, please go ahead. When I think about this issue of speech and life issues, I think in my experience, those both are, it's impossible to think about speech without thinking about life issues. It's a thing that completely cut through every aspect of my life. Experience of constant hiding, of trying to mitigate damage, not to show my true self, but to always think through, if I do this, what would happen, etc., etc., And now that I actually found the tools to express myself in all contexts and actually love to speak, I have a sense of freedom.
I feel that it was never a speech that was a life issue. There was always some, at least in my case, a life issue that triggered speech issue. And I really feel that one of the cures, quote unquote, to stammering is always positive outlook to life issues and problems. And that is what Lee, let's say, taught me, even though it was more or less already familiar to me. Whenever I was worried or I was feeling trapped in some life issue, my stammering would worsen.
I think that, of course, it's anxiety and fear. And in general, I think our speech is a mirror of our emotional state, basically.
Exactly.
When we are extremely fearful or anxious or panicky, our speech crumbles completely.
In my past, speech therapists would always represent stammering to me like an iceberg that has the upper part, which is just the speech part, just the stammering, and then the bottom part, which is denial, anxiety, fear, and so on.
Mind training that addresses the bottom, the lower part of the iceberg, which is actually the largest part, right? So mind training is so essential. That is why, it is a fundamental and foundation of this program. And when you do the mind training, you will be able to, resolve all the issues that is underlying. Because, like you said, stuttering is a manifestation of a already existing problem, right? So I think mind training can address that.
This program teach me how to love myself, how to be proud of myself, and also teach me how to become free from the bad thoughts. This year is the most happiest year ever. I achieved some dreams that I was just thinking of it and said. But now I am live it. Now I am living my dream. I am so happy. This program gave me the lifeline to live the life, not just watching the people living. No, me live my life. I am so happy. Thank you, Coach Lee.
I've been reading a lot of books upon the idea of law of attraction, the idea that, your thoughts create your reality. And one of the core principles they teach is that most people focus on why they don't want what they don't want, instead of focusing on why they want what they want. So I think that kind of echoes back into the mind training regimen that we have in this program, in which we take a negative thought and flood it with a flood of contrary positive thoughts in order to drown it out. That kind of changes the vibration from one of focusing on what you don't want into one that focuses on what you want.
The longer I go on in my journey towards loving to speak in any situation, the more I feel I recognize that fundamental truth of what we focus on grows, right? It's always where we put our attention. And that gives us so much power. Whenever I may be thinking words, I can just stop and focus on the solution. Instead of thinking of a blue elephant, I'm thinking of a purple monkey. That purple monkey is my speech plan. This whole program has changed the way that I navigate my days. I am always in control of every choice that I can make. Whenever you feel like you have a bad day and this will impact your speech, ask yourself, hey, is that true? Because if you're being honest to yourself, every day I make a happy day. It's active. You make it.
There's actually a lot of studies in behavioral science that basically say that if you think that you have agency in your life, the quality of life will improve. So if you think that things don't happen to you, but you actually are the one that construct your future and build your life, yeah, the quality of life it has is impressive. Like you have a happier life, more robust, better health, etc. So yeah, that's exactly right.
On a broader, perspective, in case if anybody feels that you're going through a bad day because of your speech, my suggestion would be double, triple, or, increase the amount of homework that you do. If you have been reading for 30 minutes per day, increase it to an hour, maybe 2 hours. The more you practice, the more your confidence will increase, and better you'll be able to apply the crutches in your speech.
I suppose a reflection on the mirror of feelings and panic being reflected in speech. I think it feels to me that this is a sort of negative feedback loop, and it's all about belief, because I feel that the worst situations I ever have are when I am at work and I have maybe a presentation to give, and if I don't believe in the material I'm having to talk about, or if I'm not prepared enough in the material I talk about, I know that I'm going to stutter and it's going to be a disaster. and equally, I think it's the fear of stuttering that then causes a fear of the presentation going wrong. And to me, it's all about the belief. I believe I'm going to stutter, it becomes a problem. And I'm firmly convinced that better preparation, so speech plans and learning the crutches and believing that I can control it, is going to be the key, as well as better preparation at work. I've only been involved in this for a few weeks, I think, after stuttering for all my life. So we're talking 44 years. And already it's making such a massive difference. I can't believe it. To a point where I was at a New Year's Eve party on Thursday, and usually I would, I'm quite outgoing to people I know well, who know I stutter, and perhaps I think aren't going to judge me, and I can communicate pretty well. People who I don't know as well, I struggle with, and I just don't really engage. I don't talk, and I'll be a quieter person at a party. And Thursday, New Year's Eve, I made a real effort to just get out there and speak to as many different people as I could. And it was just something I was completely unused to doing. And I mean, it's early steps. It was still people I knew, but I would have never engaged in discussions with them before, as much as I did, other than the odd, hello, goodbye, how are you, and it just opened my mind to like how it could be with strangers, and now I hope that it's going to lead to a better life. So I just I'm so grateful to everyone who's supported me in such a short space of time. It's a great community, and I'm so pleased I found it.
When you said speech and life issues, something occurred to me, and I just want to share a tagline from a very famous brand. We all know that the tagline for Nike is just do it. It seems to be very simple, but it is psychologically deep, okay? Just do it. What does it even mean? It's like, it asks you to stop waiting for perfect situations, right? It it actually, makes you stop thinking, I'm not ready yet. I'll start when I feel confident. What if I fail? It eliminates the doubts and directly asks you to act, right? So, in the morning when you wake up and you feel so tired and exhausted, if you can just do your 1, 2, 3 punch, right? Just act on it. Just do your reading aloud. Just do your mind training. And most importantly, most of all, use the crutches 24/7. Whenever you have an opportunity to speak, see that as a chance to practice your crutch. So I think this gave me a very deep insight on, action comes first and the confidence follows. We don't speak fluently just because our confidence is high. You speak anyways fluently using the crutches, because of which your confidence will improve.
This is actually my first time speaking at a SAM meeting, and as soon as I put my hand up, the classic anxiety hit. But I think based on what Prathusa, I think that resonated with me in the sense of just do it. I knew that I would get a lot from speaking despite the level of anxiety, and I think to not do it in that situation would have potentially awoken demons in my mind of avoidance and of that perfectionism of only speaking when I felt it was the perfect opportunity. So, and to speak in a situation where I do have anxiety, because a lot of the times with the rutches and the practices, it's in a really controlled and safe environment. So to use some of them and to push myself in a lot more of an anxiety-driven situation feels good. And yeah, it's nice to connect with everyone and actually contribute for the first time.
Honestly, we've all been, there. Like even now, like honestly, sometimes me in front of clients or etc., I still get flustered and like excited. The nerves go extremely high. But I think the key, okay, is to learn to kind of process that anxiety, not as fear, but as excitement.
Just go do it. I think there's nothing more direct than that. We have a method that works. I'm seeing it work in my everyday life more and more. I'm having to think less and less about this. I can't even recall the last time I thought about any of the substance that we have discussed in this meeting. It's been several months. It's almost been a full year, and so this works. It's really as simple as that. I think our job is to try and simplify the mysterious. It's very mysterious and in some ways unknown why the brain ever gets into a stuttering loop in the first place. but our job is to simplify that whole process down to a set of 1 or 2 methods that you have to follow every day, and you will not be thinking about this ever again. So
this organization does so much, and I'm hoping that more people like Bob will find us and that Bob will help us to whatever extent he can push our way into the medical community and let them help us share the fact that stuttering is not an incurable disease. Sebastian, thank you for your efforts, your hosting today, and to everyone, a very happy New Year.
Thank you for those excellent words, Coach Lee, as always. Now it's time to close our meeting. I hope that you enjoyed exchanging thoughts with ex-stutterers and those fast becoming ex-stutterers. I will now end with our motto. Feel free to say it along with me. If you can say one word, anywhere, anytime, you can say and love to say any word, anywhere, anytime. Bye, everyone. Thank you, and see you next Saturday.